Alors bonjour, bienvenue à tous à notre rendez-vous pour la presse en ligne et en direct sur EBS. Nous sommes aujourd'hui le lundi 6 septembre. Nous avons aujourd'hui une seule et unique annonce sur un projet de politique régionale. Et donc j'invite Viviane à venir sur le podium pour qu'elle vous donne les détails. Bienvenue Viviane.
Merci beaucoup Eric. Bon après-midi. La Commission a approuvé l'investissement de plus de 175 millions d'euros de fonds de cohésion afin de moderniser et d'installer une nouvelle infrastructure d'eau potable et d'assainissement dans le comté de Olt en Roumanie. Ce projet réduira des fuites et des interruptions d'approvisionnement en eau et dans la Roumanie à répondre aux exigences de la directive de l'Union européenne sur l'eau potable et contribuera au développement socio-économique local. Comme d'habitude, plus d'informations concernant les investissements financés par l'Union européenne en Roumanie sont disponibles sur la plateforme de données ouvertes. Merci.
Merci beaucoup Viviane. Voilà qui clôture nos annonces et donc nous pouvons passer à vos questions. Y a-t-il des questions pour nous aujourd'hui? Alors je vais passer la parole à Luis. Luis Tovar. Luis.
C'est une question par rapport à l'état de droit en Espagne. Aujourd'hui, il y a le début de l'année judiciaire. En Espagne, le Conseil de pouvoir judiciaire n'était pas encore rénové. J'aimerais savoir si vous êtes en contact avec les autorités, le gouvernement espagnol, en tant que c'est un sujet qui concerne la Commission et quel est l'appel de la Commission par rapport à ce sujet en tant que c'est la troisième année que le Conseil de pouvoir judiciaire n'est pas rénové encore en Espagne. Merci.
Merci Luis. Une question pour Adalbert qui remplace Christiane sur ce sujet pour le moment.
Thank you very much, Luis. I do not have anything new to add on this topic at present. Our position on this very important topic is very clearly articulated in the Rule of Law report for 2021, and we continue to follow the situation very closely.
Merci. Luis, tu as une question de suivi?
Non, c'est fini, merci Eric.
Ah, d'accord, merci beaucoup. Y a-t-il d'autres questions sur l'état de droit pour Adalbert? Non. Alors, peut-être des questions sur les affaires intérieures, vu qu'il est sur le podium. Home Affairs. So I have one hand raised. I don't know if it's on Home Affairs or on something else, but we will go to that question. Simona.
Yes, thank you. I hope you hear me well. Yes?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question actually on media, concretely on Slovene media, Slovenian press agency, if I may.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering, the staff, the journalists and the staff of the Slovenian press agency, they sent a letter to end of August to the top EU officials, also to the Commission's President von der Leyen among them. And in this letter, they were saying that despite calls to restore the financing of the Slovenian press agency by the Slovenian government, the issue still has not been resolved. So I was wondering, has the Commission received this letter and how do you respond to it? And also another thing, given that the EU Commission expressed concerns and voiced expectation that the solution would be found on many occasions in the past, can the STA staff, the Slovenian press agency journalists and staff, can they expect more decisive support this time by the Commission? Thank you.
Adalbert.
Thank you very much. I can first of all confirm that we have received the letter. We will, of course, as always, reply in due course. And I can perhaps add that the Commission has expressed its serious concerns about this issue repeatedly, as well as its expectations from the Slovenian government. And I can reiterate that national authorities must ensure the independence, and it is crucial that they guarantee appropriate funding for the public service provided by the Slovenian press agency. We're of course following closely the ongoing legal proceedings at the national level on this issue. However, when it comes to any future developments, of course I cannot speculate about future developments. I would invite you to stay tuned.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions for Adalbert today? That does not seem to be the case, so I open the floor to other issues. Yes, please.
Khalid Hamid Farooqi from Geo Television News and Jung Group of Newspaper, Pakistan. The developing situation in Afghanistan, the 5 conditions which HRVP set for Afghan government engagement or Taliban engagement in Slovenia, it seems that Taliban willing to meet these conditions, and also British and Germans are establishing contact with Taliban, and Raab Dominic just visited Doha in Pakistan to meet Taliban. How long will it take EU to assess the situation, to go forward to meet Taliban and some sort of establish EU office in Kabul? Thank you.
Thank you. Nabila, welcome back as well.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. I mean, as you've seen that the HRVP set up I won't go further than what the HRVP has said at the press conference following the discussion he had in Slovenia with the ministers. For the moment, the ministers have set benchmarks, conditions for a basis for engagement with the Afghans power holders following the Taliban's. You have 5 benchmarks that were put there, and for the moment we are waiting to evaluate the situation, and this is what we're doing for the moment.
Thank you very much. Noureddin, I believe you have a question on Afghanistan as well.
Bonjour Rick. Je voudrais savoir dans quelle mesure Nabil pourrait nous dire cette présence européenne qui sera reprise, ou bien cette reprise d'activité de l'Union européenne à Kaboul, c'est une question dans quelques jours ou bien c'est une question de quelques semaines? Est-ce que, si tu es en mesure, Nabila, de nous dire, est-ce que c'est une présence diplomatique?
Écoute, pour l'instant, c'est une question, et comme tu le sais, nous avons, comme je viens de l'expliquer à ce stade, les ministres des Affaires étrangères se sont vus à peine la semaine dernière. Cette présence sera établie selon, premièrement, la situation sécuritaire à Kaboul, mais aussi selon les benchmarks et les réponses des benchmarks des talibans qui ont été établis lors de la réunion des ministres. Donc pour moi, il est trop tôt de spéculer sur un timeline. C'est assez prématuré, en fait.
Merci. Oliver, you have a question on Afghanistan? No? Okay, Nawab.
Yes, thank you, Eric. Nabila, humanitarian assistance has started flowing to Afghanistan, and I think several flights from Qatar have already landed in Kabul. So when is the EU going to start humanitarian assistance to Afghanistan? Thank you.
Thank you, Nawab. That's a question on humanitarian assistance, so more for Balash. So we will come back to it after other possible questions on the more political side of the Afghanistan file. Mose.
Thank you very much, Eric. I also have a follow-up question to Nabila on the question previously about the 5 conditions, or as you also call them, the benchmarks. Using that word may perhaps imply that there are some kind of indicators how to assess them or analyze them. What I wonder is if EU or the Action Service, if you think that all the conditions have to be met, because that is not very likely to happen, especially, for example, the condition about the establishment of, let's say, transitional or representative government, which is more inclusive, because that has not happened. I mean, the Taliban took power by force. So what do you think? Is it possible for EU to engage with the Taliban, even if not all, or perhaps not all conditions are met, or perhaps only in a very small extent? Thank you.
Mose, I think that as the HRVP was said earlier and last week, the Taliban rule will be judged on their deeds and actions rather than on the promises they have made so far. The engagement with the Taliban will be based on what they will deliver in terms of actions. And here it's very difficult to answer concretely to your question, but we will need to assess, and our engagement will be based on our assessment.
Thank you. Thank you. Mumshil, you have a question on Afghanistan? No. Okay, so we come back to the question on humanitarian aid to Afghanistan for Balázs. I may call you up again if there are other questions on international affairs, other issues. Balázs.
Yes, good afternoon. So let me start by saying that certainly it's good news that humanitarian access appears to be short. On the ground, we've been saying for 2 weeks now that on our side we are ready, and we understand from our humanitarian partner organizations in the country that they are very committed to staying and carrying on with their operations. So on our side, the funds are ready, they have been announced, and what is happening now is a sort of a conversation with our humanitarian partner organizations on the ground. We are assessing the situation constantly, and should they be telling us that they are ready to continue their operations, we are there. So in terms of when the funds can start flowing, obviously as of this year, we'll be rolling out these projects.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions for Balázs on humanitarian aid to Afghanistan? No, or on other humanitarian aid issues? Not the case. So let me go back to foreign affairs. Are there other questions on foreign affairs for us today? Mumshil.
Hello, good afternoon. The Belarusian court just sentenced a leading opposition figure to 11 years in prison, and her lawyer was sentenced to 10 years. How will the European Commission react?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Momchil. We will react. We are preparing a statement that will be issued shortly. At this stage, I can only confirm that the EU had presence at the court, so we had a diplomat who was there, and we will issue the statement in the next hour or so.
Momchil, you have a follow-up.
Yes, but is there is the Council preparing new sanctions against the Belarusian regime in connection with these sanctions?
We have already several rounds of sanctions imposed for various reasons: for the fraudulent elections last August, for the continued and ongoing repression, human rights violations. There are economic financial sanctions in place. So the EU is ready to take action whenever there is an agreement by all 27 member states that the time is ripe to increase the pressure and to react in form of sanctions. You know that we never continue ongoing processes within the Council. The EU has said on many occasions, last time it was last Friday, the HRVP recalled that we continue monitor the situation in Belarus on many different fronts, be it ongoing repression, human rights violation, these trials which have absolutely no foundation, which are in violation of all the fundamental rights and freedoms of the Belarusian people. In terms of misusing the migrants. So we are reviewing the situation when it comes to the actions by the Belarusian Lukashenko regime, and we will react as necessary.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions on Belarus for Peter? Or on other foreign affairs issues? That is not the case. Thank you. So I go back to Oliver, who had a question on climate and cars. Oliver.
Hi. Our colleagues from Bloomberg spoke to the Italian Minister for, what is it called, ecological transition, Signore Cingolari, and he's apparently lobbying with the Commission to have luxury car producers exempt from your plan to phase out the combustion engine within the next 14 years. Can you confirm such talks? And just in general, what do you make of a climate minister lobbying for Ferrari, Lamborghini, and so forth? Is that sort of the right mindset you expect to have in Europe facing the climate crisis, but also the whole recovery paid by European taxpayers in Italy as well? Thank you.
Tim.
Thanks, Oliver, for the question. I've seen the comments. We've seen the comments, but as you know, we don't comment on comments of ministers or anybody else. I'm certainly not going to offer a value judgment on those questions that you were putting to us about how he would operate. It's not our place at all. What I can do is remind you of the proposals that we made in July as part of our Fit for 55 package. So that is the 100% reduction in emissions for the new vehicle fleet in Europe by 2035. And I would point out that all car and van manufacturers will have to contribute to this reduction. So therefore, the derogation, which is currently in place in legislation for small volume manufacturers, which is those selling between 1,000 and 10,000 new cars, would be removed as of 2030 under the proposals which we set out in July.
Thank you. Oliver, you have a follow-up.
Thank you. Tim, can you give us, actually, can you confirm that the Italian government has reached out to the Commission? And can you give us an overview of the, I don't know, the exchanges, the meetings, the other ways of taking contact they have had with you? Because apparently I mean, he sounded quite convinced that this is an idea that would fly in Brussels. Thank you.
Well, again, as I said, our proposals, the Commission's part in the Fit for 55 package was to put legislative proposals on the table in July, which is what we've done. The ball is now in the court, as we say, of the co-legislators, so the Parliament and the Council. I'm not aware of any talks that have happened since that time, but I can, of course, double-check and let you know.
Thank you very much. Do we have other questions for Tim on energy or climate-related issues? No, thank you. Any other questions for us today? Yes, please.
O'Leary, Irish Times. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks for taking the question. I'm just looking here at the organogram for the DG for International Partnerships of all the new people who are put into different leadership positions. And there's about 75 people on the page, and they have jobs like partnerships with Africa, with the Middle Eastern region, with Asia, but none of these people seem to come from any sort of diverse background. As far as I can see, they're all white, so there's not even one person from an African background or from Asian or from MENA. How is this in line with the European Commission's commitment to diversity and inclusion? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, you are asking us a question point blank about the staff of a specific department. It's definitely not something that we can comment on here without first checking. I would always advise against judging people's origins based on their name. That's definitely something which I think that we should all do, and therefore we will come back to you bilaterally on this. Thank you very much. Any other questions for us today? That is not the case, so thank you and see you tomorrow.